There is a watch on the table. No logo on the dial, no numerals, no brand name visible anywhere from the outside. Just a single unbroken surface of white enamel and a pair of hands moving in silence. Most people walk past it without a second glance. A very specific kind of person stops. They recognize it immediately, and they say nothing. That is precisely the point. What does it mean when the most expensive things in the world refuse to announce themselves? We are conditioned to believe that luxury speaks loudly. Gold, crystals, monograms repeated into infinity. But the truly rare things have grown quieter, calmer, stripped back to almost nothing. This is not minimalism for aesthetic fashion. This is something more deliberate, more psychological, more revealing about power, wealth, and what it means to truly belong to a world most people never see. The simplification of luxury design is not an accident. It is a statement. And to understand it, you must first understand who it is actually speaking to. Every element a luxury brand removes is a decision, not laziness, not restraint for its own sake, a deliberate act of subtraction that communicates something no addition ever could. Consider the Hermès Birkin bag. For decades, it has carried no visible logo on its front face, no embossed lettering across the exterior. The hardware is understated. The silhouette barely changes across generations. And yet a single glance, from the right person, produces immediate recognition. Why does that recognition feel different from spotting a logo? Because it requires knowledge. It requires initiation. You cannot fake familiarity with a Birkin. You either know what it is, or you do not. And that distinction matters enormously to the people who carry one. The same logic governs the most respected automobiles in the world. A Rolls-Royce Ghost, the model called the silent luxury, even within its own company, was deliberately redesigned to remove complexity. Fewer lines on the body, smoother surfaces. The interior refined until it felt less like a car cabin and more like a private room. The design team used a phrase that became central to the car's identity: post-opulence. They stripped away what had once been considered markers of success because their clients no longer needed those markers. They had moved beyond them. Think about what that means. A manufacturer of some of the most expensive cars ever produced made the decision to design for people who do not need to signal their wealth, who are in fact made slightly uncomfortable by the idea of announcing it. This is the psychology at the center of all simplification in luxury. The removal of decoration is the removal of insecurity. There is a hierarchy within wealth that is rarely spoken about openly. At the lower levels, acquisition is the point. The thing must be seen to be purchased. It must carry markers, visible, legible, unmistakable, the monogram, the signature color, the recognizable pattern. These are not signs of poor taste. They are signs of a particular stage, of arrival, of wanting the world to register that arrival. But something shifts as wealth deepens and ages. The need for external validation quietly recedes. What replaces it is something more interior, a preference for knowing over showing, a desire for spaces, objects, and experiences that feel private, even when technically visible to others. This is where simplification becomes a form of gatekeeping. How do the most powerful people in the world use design to separate themselves from everyone else? They use legibility. Specifically, they move toward designs that are only legible to those who already belong. A Patek Philippe reference 527 has no visible logo from across a room. Its case is round, relatively modest in size, understated in finish. It does not demand attention. But within a certain room, among a certain circle, it communicates net worth, taste, and restraint with a precision that a diamond-encrusted timepiece never could. The same principle applies in automotive culture at the highest level. And Aston Martin Vanquish does not scream. It does not need to. Its surfaces are long and unbroken. Its proportions carry a confidence that comes from decades of refinement rather than decoration. The people who choose it are not interested in making noise. They are interested in something more enduring than noise. And that preference, that quiet, controlled, almost secretive preference, is the defining characteristic of taste at the apex of wealth. Taste does not announce itself. It simply is, and everything around it is arranged accordingly. There is another layer to this that goes beyond psychology. It is about control. When a design is complex, layered with detail, ornamentation, and visual information, the eye is busy. The mind is busy. There is motion even in stillness.
When a design is simplified to its essential nature, something else happens. The viewer slows down. They look longer. They are drawn into the object rather than stimulated by it. And in that sustained attention, the maker is in total control of the experience. This is why the most exclusive fashion houses have moved toward silence. Bottega Veneta removed its logo from nearly everything under a particular creative direction, and immediately became more coveted than it had been in years. The waitlists grew. The resale value climbed. By saying less, the brand communicated more. Specifically, it communicated confidence, the kind of confidence that does not need permission. Loro Piana, acquired quietly by LVMH, and left largely to operate without fanfare, barely markets itself at all. Its cashmere and vicuña pieces carry the smallest possible branding. A small metal plaque, sometimes. A woven label, rarely visible. And yet, among those who understand fiber, providence, and craft, Loro Piana occupies a position that no amount of advertising could manufacture. Now consider what this means for the automobile. The Bentley Mulliner Battour, one of the most expensive Bentley vehicles ever produced, features an exterior that removes visual complexity in favor of surface tension. The design language is taut, almost architectural. There is no visual noise. Every panel serves only itself. The car is not decorated. It is resolved. That word matters. Resolved. It suggests that a problem has been worked through to its natural conclusion, that every unnecessary element has been examined and removed. What remains is not simplicity by default. It is simplicity by intention. And intentionality, at this level, is everything. What separates the merely expensive from the genuinely rare is not price. It is the evidence of a mind at work, a set of decisions made with absolute confidence, removed from trend, removed from validation seeking, removed from the noise of a marketplace always trying to be noticed. Here is what the luxury industry understands that its imitators never quite grasp. Complexity is reproducible. Decoration can be duplicated. A pattern can be copied. A monogram counterfeited. A colorway appropriated. The market has proven this endlessly. But restraint cannot be faked. This is the deepest secret behind the simplification of luxury design. When a house removes the logo, strips the surface, quiets the palette, and trusts the form entirely, it is making a bet that most companies are not able to make. The bet is this: our audience already knows us. They do not need to be told who we are, and the moment we feel the need to tell them, we will have already lost something we cannot recover. What does it cost a brand to go quiet? Everything and nothing. Everything because it means releasing control of legibility to an audience rather than holding it. Nothing because the audience that matters has already arrived. The Ferrari Monza, the Pagani Huayra, the Aston Martin DB12 in its quietest specification. None of these cars achieve their status through complexity. They achieve it through total resolution of form. The lines go exactly where they must go. The proportions are not negotiated. They are decided. And the person who sits inside, who has waited, who has paid, who has perhaps waited again, does not experience a product. They experience a position, a point of view, the expression of a culture that does not invite everyone in. That exclusion is not cruelty. It is integrity. The object remains true to itself regardless of who is watching. That constancy, that indifference to approval, is what the ultra-wealthy are actually purchasing. Not the car, not the watch, not the coat. They are purchasing proof that something in the world is not trying to please everyone. In a market saturated with noise, with stimulation, with brands desperate to be chosen, the thing that chooses to be quiet becomes the rarest thing of all. Luxury, at its most distilled, is not about what is added. It never was. It is about having the confidence, the history, the certainty, the discipline, to remove everything that does not belong. And in that removal, to leave something the world cannot stop looking at.